The docking bay of Station 9 was alive with noise and movement. Massive cargo haulers floated in through the energy gates, their metal hulls glowing under the neon lights of the station. Alien voices overlapped in dozens of strange tongues, selling, bargaining, arguing. The smell of engine fuel mixed with the sweet scent of alien spices drifting from the market stalls. Through the crowd came something small, so small it almost went unnoticed. A tiny earth puppy, no bigger than a loaf of bread, padded along the metallic floor. Its ears perked up, its little tail wagged with every step. The contrast between the huge alien structures and the fragile creature was almost comical. At least, that's what the aliens thought. A group of tall, insect-like traders stopped to watch it. One of them clicked his mandibles and let out a sharp laugh. "Look at that! A food creature wandering loose," he said in his language. Others joined in, pointing with long clawed fingers. Some whispered that humans were strange to keep such weak creatures alive. The puppy looked up at the towering shapes above it, not fully understanding. It gave a curious bark, high-pitched and fearless. The crowd laughed even harder to them. The little animal was nothing more than a joke in the middle of their busy day. But then, the atmosphere shifted. From the shadows near Dock 12, a tall figure emerged. A human male, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark jacket with the silver emblem of an independent starship captain. His eyes scanned the scene, cold and sharp. In one hand he carried a small cargo case. In the other, nothing. But his posture spoke of quiet danger. The puppy's ears shot up and it ran toward him. It stopped at his boots, looking up with pure trust. The man knelt down, resting a hand gently on its head. He didn't smile, didn't speak. Instead, his gaze moved over the alien onlookers, taking in their mocking grins. The insect-like trader who had laughed the loudest tilted his head. "You bring prey animals to trade now, human?" he said with a mocking tone. The man straightened slowly, his voice calm but deep. "This is not prey," he said. "This is mine." The laughter returned, but now it was mixed with challenge. One alien, a bulky reptilian, stepped forward, towering over the human. "You guard this thing? Why?" "It cannot fight, it cannot work, useless." The human's jaw tightened. He didn't argue, didn't shout. He simply said, "Everything has its purpose, even if you can't see it." The reptilian leaned closer, his scales reflecting the dock's yellow light. "Maybe I step on it, human, and see if your little purpose survives." The puppy growled, a tiny, trembling sound. It didn't step back. This only made the aliens laugh harder. The human captain bent down again, whispering something to the puppy. Then he stood, locking eyes with the reptilian. "You could try," he said quietly, "but then you would see what happens to those who harm what's mine." For a moment, the dock went silent. No one moved. The human's tone had not been loud, but it carried the weight of someone who had faced worse than the entire crowd put together. The reptilian clipped his tongue and stepped back, muttering something under his breath. The captain turned, walking toward the exit without another word, the puppy trotting beside him. The aliens watched them go. Some laughed again, but it was weaker this time. Others frowned, sensing there was more to this human than they had thought. One insectoid whispered to another. That was Captain Rin, the one who survived the siege of Vexa Prime. The other aliens' laughter died instantly as the human and the puppy entered the market corridor. The station's lights flickered for a moment. Cargo lifts rumbled in the distance. The captain walked without hurry, but his eyes stayed alert, scanning every face. The puppy stayed close to his boots, trusting him completely. It didn't know the danger it was in, not yet. But the captain knew. He had heard rumors before arriving, whispers that certain gangs on Station 9 had started targeting humans. And now, after the little scene in the dock, he suspected trouble would find them soon. The captain stopped at a corner stall selling ration packs. The merchant, a small blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes, looked nervous. "You should be careful, Captain Rin," he said in a hushed voice. They were laughing, but some of them, they were watching you. Rin gave a short nod. "They can watch all they want," he said. Then he picked up the ration pack, dropped a credit chip on the counter, and walked away. Behind them, in the shadow of the docking bay gates, two figures followed at a distance. Their eyes weren't on the captain. They were on the puppy, and their grins promised trouble. The market of Station 9 was a maze of narrow steel walkways, glowing signs and endless noise everywhere. Traders shouted deals in alien tongues. The smell of hot food drifted from stalls, and the hum of machinery echoed from the walls. "Captain." Rin walked calmly through the crowd, the tiny puppy trotting close to his boots, its eyes wide at the strange sights. A group of insectoid merchants stood near a spice stand, their long antennae swaying as they noticed the puppy. One leaned toward another and clicked his mandibles. "Still alive," he said in his language. "They didn't eat it yet." The group chuckled, the sound like scraping metal. The puppy stopped, tilting its head at them. It wagged its tail and took a step forward. That was when one of the insectoids, a tall one with green armor-like plates, stuck out a leg and blocked the puppy's path. It stumbled forward, almost falling. The crowd laughed, a harsh and mocking sound. The puppy barked once, not in fear, but in protest. The insectoid bent down, his sharp eyes glinting. "Is that all, little creature? No bite? No claws?" he said, tapping the floor near it with his claw. The puppy growled, a tiny rumble that made a few aliens raise their brows. But to most, it was still a joke. Rin stopped walking. He turned slowly, his eyes locking on the insectoid. The noise of the market seemed to fade as he spoke. "Move your leg," he said quietly. The insectoid tilted his head, pretending not to hear. "I'm speaking to you," Rin said, his voice carrying a weight that made a few nearby aliens step back. The insectoid laughed. "You care too much for something so weak," he said. "Tell me, human, do you fight its battles? Or does it run away and hide like your kind?" The crowd murmured, sensing the tension. Rin's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "This one doesn't run from anything," he said. "Not even from fools who don't know what they're stepping on." The insectoid's antennae twitched, his expression shifting from amusement to annoyance. He stood up straight, towering over Rin. "You think your little earth animal is worth respect?" he said, his mandibles clicking sharply. Rin took a step closer, so close that his reflection showed in the insectoid's black eyes. "I know it is," he said. "Respect is not given because of size, it's earned." The insectoid neighed, a sound halfway between a laugh and a hiss. "Then perhaps it can earn it right now," he said. And he raised one claw as if to swipe the puppy aside. In that moment, Rin's hand shot out and grabbed the alien's wrist. The movement was so fast that several bystanders gasped. Rin didn't squeeze hard, yet, but his grip was unbreakable. The insectoid froze. Rin's voice dropped even lower. "Touch it, and I will break your arm before you take your next breath." It was not a threat in his tone, it was a promise. The insectoid pulled his arm back slowly, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't over, human," he hissed. Rin let go, turning his back on him without a second glance. "That's what they all say," he replied as he walked away. The puppy stayed close to him now, no longer wandering toward strangers. Its little tail still wagged, but slower. It had felt the danger too. Rin didn't say anything to it, but he glanced down once, and the puppy met his eyes. There was no fear in them, only trust. From a high balcony above the market, two shadowy figures watched the scene. One was short and stocky, with rough gray skin. The other was tall and thin, with glowing blue eyes. They spoke in low voices. "The captain protects the animal," the tall one said. "Which means the animal is the key," the short one grinned. "Then we take the key, and the captain will come to us." They melted back into the shadows, unnoticed. Rin continued through the market until they reached the quieter maintenance corridors near Dock 7. Here, the lights flickered, and the air smelled faintly of oil. He stopped by a sealed supply door, swiping his access card. The panel beeped, and the door slid open. revealing the dim interior of his private storage bay. He stepped inside. The portal beeped, and the door slid open, revealing the dim interior of his private storage bay. He stepped inside. The panel beeped, and the door slid open, revealing the dim interior of his private storage bay. He stepped, puppy following with tiny paws clicking on the metal floor. Rin knelt down and checked the small collar around the puppy's neck. It wasn't just a collar. It was a micro-cum tracker linked directly to his wrist console. If the puppy ever went missing, he would know. He had installed it after hearing about the gangs that stole valuable animals for the underground markets. And here, on Station 9, everything was for sale, including lives. Outside, in the maze of walkways, the insectoid from the market stood with clenched claws. His pride had been wounded. And in places like Station 9, wounded pride often turned into dangerous plans. The artificial night cycle had begun on Station 9. The bright market lights dimmed, replaced by the softer glow of corridor strips. Shops pulled down metal shutters, and traders packed their goods into secure lockers. But the life of the station never truly slept in the dark corners. Business shifted from open trade to hidden deals. Captain Rin sat at a small metal table inside his ship. The wayfarer, the puppy, lay curled up on his jacket. Breathing softly, Rin sipped a cup of strong, bitter stem coffee while reviewing station security feeds on his wrist console. His eyes narrowed, twice now, in different camera angles. He had spotted the same two shadowy figures trailing him earlier. They were good at staying unseen, but not good enough. Rin leaned back in his chair. "They'll come," he murmured to himself. "They always do, outside in the lower docks." The insectoid merchant from earlier paced restlessly. His pride was still burning from being humiliated in front of the market crowd. 3 younger aliens, rough-looking and carrying concealed shock batons, stood nearby. They were eager to prove themselves. "Find the human's pet," the insectoid ordered. "Bring it to me, alive." The younger ones nodded and vanished into the warren of corridors. The puppy stirred, lifting its head. Its ears twitched, sensing something. Beyond the walls, it padded over to Rin and gave a short, quiet bark. Rin glanced at it, frowning. "You hear it, don't you?" The puppy barked again, sharper this time. He set his coffee aside, sliding a small sidearm into the holster on his hip. Minutes later, Rin left the ship, the puppy trotting beside him. They moved through one of the quieter maintenance corridors, a place most traders avoided after hours. Pipes hissed overhead, dripping condensation onto the floor. The air was heavy with the smell of coolant. Rin walked casually, but his senses were sharp. Every sound in the metal hall registering in his mind. From the shadows ahead, a voice called out, Well, look what we have here." 3 figures stepped into the dim light, blocking the way forward. They were the younger aliens sent by the insectoid, lean, quick, and armed. One of them, a lanky reptilian, grinned. "Nice little creature you have there, human." Rin didn't reply. His eyes stayed on their hands. Noting the grip on their hidden weapons, the smallest alien stepped closer, crouching slightly to look at the puppy. "Trade it to us," he said. "You'll even get paid, more than it's worth." The puppy growled, a surprisingly deep sound for its size. The aliens laughed. "Oh, it thinks it's dangerous," one sneered. Rin's voice was quiet but firm. "Last chance, move." The aliens didn't move. The tall reptilian took a step forward, lifting his baton. In that moment, the puppy suddenly darted sideways, faster than they expected. It ran along the wall, slipping into a narrow vent opening. The aliens laughed again, thinking it had fled. But seconds later, it reappeared behind them. Its small jaws clamped hard on the reptilian's tail. The reptilian yelped in pain and spun around. That gave Rin his opening. In one smooth motion, he stepped forward, striking the first alien in the chest with his elbow, sending him into the wall. The second swung his baton, but Rin caught his wrist, twisting until the weapon clattered to the floor. The fight was short, efficient, and over in seconds. Two lay groaning on the ground, the third limping away with a bitten tail. Rin looked down at the puppy. It wagged its tail as if nothing had happened. "You," he said, crouching, "are full of surprises." The puppy barked once, proud of itself. Back in the shadows above, the two original watchers observed everything. The tall one with glowing blue eyes leaned on the railing. "He's not like the others," he said quietly. "Most humans here keep their heads down. This one fights back." The short one nodded slowly. "And that animal? It's trained, but more than that, it's loyal." They exchanged a glance. "Maybe we test both of them," the tall one suggested. "Push them into something they can't walk away from." Elsewhere, in the insectoid merchant's private quarters, the news of the failed attempt reached him. His mandibles clicked in irritation. He tapped a claw on the table. "If the pet is protected that fiercely," he muttered, "then breaking the human will be much sweeter." Rin, unaware of the growing conspiracy, walked back toward his ship, but deep down, he knew tonight's trouble was only the beginning. On Station 9, grudges didn't fade. They sharpened, and someone out there had just decided to turn this into a war. Morning came slowly to Station 9. The central lights shifted from a dull blue to bright white, signaling the start of the trade cycle. Crowds poured back into the main market halls, filling the air with noise. Captain Rin stood at the edge of the docking bay with the puppy beside him, watching the busy floor. The little animal's tail wagged lazily, but its ears twitched every time someone looked too long in their direction. Rin knew eyes were on him, more than yesterday. Word of last night's fight had already spread, and on Station 9 news moved faster than ships. The insectoid merchant appeared again, but this time he wasn't alone. 4 guards in black armor stood behind him, each with a heavy shock staff. The insectoid's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as he approached. "Human," he called, his voice loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You seem to think your creature deserves respect." The market noise dimmed as people turned to listen. Rin stayed still, his hand resting on the puppy's head. "I don't think," he said. "I know." The insectoid tilted his head mockingly. "Then prove it," he said. "I challenge you to the trial of Station 9. A ripple of surprise went through the crowd. The trial was an ancient test, a mix of obstacles, endurance, and skill, held rarely and only when honor was at stake. If you accepted, you couldn't refuse the chosen course. If you won, you earned respect from everyone who witnessed it. If you lost, humiliation followed you for the rest of your life." Rin's eyes narrowed. "What's the course?" The insectoid's mandibles curved into what passed for a smile. "Your animal will face our champion beast in the arena," he said. "It will survive, or it will not." The crowd murmured, the idea of a small Earth puppy facing one of the station's trained alien beasts was absurd. Some were already laughing, but others, remembering last night, stayed silent, curious. Rin crouched, looking into the puppy's eyes. "You up for this?" he asked quietly. The puppy tilted its head and barked once, tail wagging fast. Rin stood, his voice steady. "Fine," he said. "I accept." The insectoid's guards stepped aside, gesturing for him to follow. Word spread like wildfire, and by the time they reached the arena chamber, half the station seemed to be there. The arena was a circular pit with walls of reinforced steel. Above it, rows of seats curved upward, packed with shouting aliens. The smell of dust, metal, and animal musk hung in the air. At the far gate, a massive cage rattled as something inside growled. The sound was deep, powerful. The crowd roared in anticipation. Rin stepped into the pit with the puppy at his heels. He could feel hundreds of eyes on them, from the upper rows. The 2 shadowy watchers from before leaned on the railing, studying him. "Interesting," the tall one murmured. "Very interesting." The insectoid raised his arms, silencing the crowd. "Today," he announced, "we see if the human's pet is more than a joke." He gestured, and the far gate rose with a metallic clang. Out stepped the champion beast, A towering, six-legged predator covered in thick spiked scales. Its eyes glowed faint yellow, and its jaws dripped with saliva. The crowd cheered. The puppy, instead of cowering, barked once, short and sharp. A wave of laughter moved through the audience. But some aliens stopped laughing when they noticed the way the beast hesitated. Just for a second, the insectoid grinned. "Begin," he commanded. The beast lunged forward, claws tearing the ground. The puppy darted sideways, moving faster than most expected. It weaved between the beast's legs, forcing it to turn awkwardly. Dust rose into the air. The crowd gasped. Rin didn't shout commands. He simply whistled once, and the puppy responded instantly, circling behind the beast. The predator swung its tail, smashing into the arena wall. The puppy slipped under it and leapt up onto a low ridge of rock. It barked again, not in fear, but as if taunting. The beast roared and charged, only to trip slightly on the uneven floor. The crowd erupted in shouts and laughter. The insectoids' smile faltered. From the side, one of the shadowy watchers leaned forward. "That animal isn't just brave," he said. "It's trained for this." The short one nodded slowly. "Or maybe," he said, "it's smarter than anyone here thinks." Round wasn't over. The beast turned again, faster this time, snapping its jaws just inches from the puppy. But the puppy didn't back down. It ran straight toward the predator, sliding under its belly and biting a soft joint between the armored plates. The beast roared in pain, stumbling forward. The crowd gasped, then cheered louder than before. Rin's voice was calm as he gave one last whistle. The puppy backed off, trotting toward him. The beast limped, panting heavily, before collapsing on its side. The insectoid's mandibles switched in disbelief. The judge, an old, scarred alien, raised his claw. "Victory to the human's animal," he declared. The arena exploded in cheers. Even those who had mocked before now shouted the puppy's name. Rin bent down, lifting it into his arms. It licked his chin once, and he allowed the smallest of smiles. He turned toward the insectoid. "Respect," he said simply. "And next time you want to test us, make it worth our time." The cheers from the arena still echoed in the station corridors long after the match ended. But Captain Rin knew applause was just noise, and noise faded quickly. What stayed behind was resentment. The insectoid merchant had been humiliated. In front of half the station, and in places like Station 9, humiliation was a wound that begged for revenge. Rin walked through the docking bay with the puppy trotting proudly beside him. It seemed to enjoy the attention, barking once at every passerby who smiled. Rin didn't mind the eyes now. The more witnesses, the less chance of an open attack. But deep inside, he knew someone would try again. They always did. By evening, the main market was alive with activity. Rin entered to restock supplies for the wayfarer. The puppy stayed close to his boots, occasionally sniffing at the food stalls. Some merchants called out greetings, others stepped aside with a nod. The respect from the trial was real, but so was the fear it had planted from a high catwalk. The two shadowy watchers observed the scene again. The tall one's glowing blue eyes tracked the puppy's every move. "The beast fight wasn't enough," he said. "We need something deeper." The short one grinned. "Test the human. Make him choose between his mission and that animal." The opportunity came quicker than they expected. Near the spice market, an announcement blared over the station's loudspeakers. "Attention, all certified captains. Report to the council hall for immediate contract briefing." The job boards didn't usually call specific captains unless it was urgent. Rin's instincts tightened. It could be real or it could be bait. Still, he went. The council hall was a circular chamber at the top of the station's core tower. Dozens of aliens stood in groups, waiting for the council speaker. Rin entered quietly, the puppy padding beside him. Some captains laughed under their breath at the sight. Others simply stared. The insectoid merchant was there too, lurking near the back, his mandibles twitching in silent amusement. The speaker, a tall avian alien with silver feathers, addressed the room. A shipment of medical supplies had gone missing in the outer ring. The council needed a captain to retrieve it before the station's hospitals ran short. The pay was good. But the job came with a strict condition. No animals allowed on the mission. Cargo space is limited. The speaker announced. A murmur swept through the room. Rin's eyes narrowed. He didn't need to guess who had suggested that rule. The insectoid merchant stepped forward with false concern. "It is for the safety of the creature, of course," he said. "Outer ring space is dangerous." His tone dripped with mock sympathy. The crowd watched, curious to see Rin's response. Rin looked down at the puppy. It stared back at him, tail still wagging. In that moment, the human knew leaving it behind wasn't an option. Not because of distrust, but because the moment he walked away, the insectoid's gang would strike. "I'll take the job," Rin said evenly. "But my crew stays with me, all of it." The council speaker hesitated. "The rules can change," Rin interrupted. "Or you can find another captain who'll deliver your supplies on time." The chamber fell silent. The avian speaker's feathers ruffled slightly. Finally, they nodded. "Very well, but its safety is on your head." Human. The mission started within the hour. Rin loaded the Wayfarer with the supply crates, strapping them down in the cargo hold. The puppy sat by the open ramp, watching every shadow as if expecting trouble, and trouble came, just before departure. A dockworker approached with a datapad. "Loading manifest, need a signature," he said. Rin scanned the pad. But something was off. The worker's ID badge didn't match the dock roster he'd seen earlier. He looked up slowly. The man's hand was reaching for the puppy. Rin caught his wrist, twisting until the datapad clattered to the ground. The dockworker hissed in pain, his eyes flashing an unnatural blue, the same shade as the watcher on the catwalk. Without a word, the man broke free and bolted, disappearing into the maze of maintenance corridors. The puppy barked fiercely. Straining toward the direction the man had run, Rin crouched, resting a hand on its back. "They're getting desperate," he said. "That means we're getting close to something." With the ramps sealed and the engines humming, the Wayfarer lifted off from Station 9. But Rin knew the real test wasn't over. Somewhere ahead, in the dark between the station and the outer ring, his enemies would try again, and when they did, it wouldn't be for a fight. It would be to break the bond between him and the only creature on this station that truly trusted him. The puppy curled up near his chair in the cockpit, its eyes half closed, but Rin didn't relax. This wasn't just a mission for supplies anymore. It was a test, not of skill, but of loyalty, and loyalty, for a human, was worth more than any contract in the galaxy. Asterisk, the black of space stretched endlessly beyond the Wayfarer's cockpit. Window stars glimmered cold and distant, scattered across the void. The hum of the ship's engines was steady, but Captain Rin's focus stayed sharp. They were halfway to the outer ring when his console beeped softly. A proximity alert. "Check the scanner." A single blip appeared, far behind, then another, and another, within seconds. The radar lit up with 5 small ships moving fast. Not cargo haulers, not traders. Their heat signatures were wrong. Rin muttered under his breath. "Pirates." The puppy, curled beside his seat, lifted its head, ears twitching. It let out a low growl, sensing danger before the alarms even sounded. Rin reached for the comm panel. "This is Captain Rin to incoming vessels," he said evenly. "You're tailing a registered ship under council contract. Disengage." The reply was static at first, then a voice he recognized, the insectoid merchant. "I told you, human. You can't protect it forever." Rin's jaw tightened. He cut the channel and shifted power to the engines, but the smaller ships were built for speed, and they closed the gap quickly. The first shot came. A burst of plasma fire streaking past the hull. The puppy barked sharply, as if telling him to move faster. In the cargo bay, one of the crates rattled loose under the impact. Rin hit the ship's comm. "Stay here," he told the puppy, but it was already leaping from the chair, running toward the back. Rin swore under his breath and followed. He reached the bay just in time to see the crate shift dangerously toward the outer wall. If it hit hard enough, it could rupture and spill the critical medical supplies into space. The ship shuddered again as another blast struck. The crate tipped, and the puppy darted forward, gripping the corner rope with its teeth. It wasn't enough to stop the slide, but it slowed it. Rin lunged in, grabbing the other side and pulling it back into place. He quickly secured it. With fresh straps, the puppy stepped back, panting but wagging its tail. Then a new alarm blared. Boarders. The pirates had latched a docking clamp onto the Wayfarer's side. The ship's hull vibrated with the sound of metal grinding against metal. Rin drew his sidearm. "Stay behind me," he told the puppy. The inner hatch hissed and slid open. 2 pirates in patchwork armor rushed in. The first barely had time to react before Rin fired, dropping him with a stun shot. The second lunged, swinging a shock baton. Rin blocked, shoved him back, and that's when the puppy moved. It dashed between Rin's legs, clamping its teeth on the pirate's ankle. The man yelled in pain, stumbling into Rin's punch. He crumpled to the deck. Rin looked at the puppy. "You don't listen, do you?" The puppy barked once, as if to say, "You're welcome." Before Rin could seal the hatch, another voice came from the corridor outside. "Stand down, Captain," it said. A tall figure stepped into view, the Watcher with the glowing blue eyes. Up close, his features were sharp and unnatural. Not fully alien, not fully human, something in between. The air around him seemed to hum faintly. "You've proven the animal's loyalty," the Watcher said calmly. "Now prove yours. Give it to us, and you walk away free." Rin didn't move. "You came all this way for a dog?" The Watcher smiled faintly. "It's no ordinary creature, human. And deep down, you know that." The puppy growled low, its fur bristling. Rin stepped forward, placing himself between it and the intruder. "Not happening," he said. The Watcher tilted his head. "Then you won't make it to the outer ring without." Warning, he raised a device in his hand, pressing a button. An electromagnetic pulse surged through the bay. The lights flickered. The ship's systems glitched, and the puppy yelped. Its collar emitted a sharp burst of light before going dead. The tracker was gone. For a split second, Rin's gut twisted. Without the collar, he had no way to find the puppy if they got separated. The Watcher took a step forward. "Last chance," he said. Rin's answer was a single, precise shot, aimed not at the man, but at the docking clamp's release panel behind him. The magnetic locks disengaged with a hiss. The sudden shift sent the pirate ship drifting away, forcing the Watcher to retreat or be pulled into space. The hatch slammed shut, and Rin staggered back against the wall. The puppy pressed against his leg. Looking up at him, he crouched, resting a hand on its head. "They won't stop," he murmured, "but neither will we." The stars outspun slowly as the Wayfarer adjusted course. The outer ring was still ahead, but now Rin knew the fight wasn't just about completing a mission. It was about keeping something safe that was worth more than any contract, any cargo. And whatever the puppy truly was, it had just become the most valuable thing in the galaxy. The outer ring of Station 9's territory was a place few ships lingered. Cold asteroid fields drifted in the dark, lit only by the faint glow of distant stars. Derelict wrecks floated silently, the remains of old battles and forgotten cargo. Haulers, Captain Rin guided the Wayfarer carefully through the field, every sensor alert and ready. The puppy sat beside his chair, staring out at the shifting rocks, ears twitching at every sound. They were close to the coordinates where the stolen medical supplies had been hidden, but Rin knew they weren't alone. He could feel it, the same quiet tension he'd felt in war zones, just before the first shot was fired. The scanner beeped softly. A large ship emerged from behind a cluster of asteroids, its hull painted in jagged black and red patterns. The insectoid merchant's face appeared on Rin's comm screen, mandibles twitching in satisfaction. "You've been a nuisance, human," he said. "But now you'll learn everything has a price." The pirate vessel's docking clamps extended. ready to latch onto the Wayfarer. But before they could connect, a deep hum filled the cockpit. Rin glanced at the puppy. Its fur was standing on end, glowing faintly along the edges. For a moment, he thought it was a trick of the lights. But then he saw it. Tiny arcs of energy dancing in its fur like living sparks. The puppy looked up at him, barked once, and the cockpit secondary screens flickered. A hidden feed came online. Blueprints of the pirate vessel. Schematics Rin had never accessed before. It wasn't random. The puppy was feeding the ship's system's real-time data. Rin stared for a heartbeat. "You've been hiding this the whole time," he murmured. The insectoid merchant barked an order off-screen, and the pirate ship fired. A plasma burst streaked toward the Wayfarer, but the puppy jumped from the seat, placing its paw on the console. The ship's shields flared bright, stronger than Rin had ever seen them. The plasma strike dissipated harmlessly. Rin didn't hesitate. He pushed the engines to full and dove toward the asteroid field, weaving between tumbling rocks. The pirate ship followed, weapons firing. Each time they closed in, the puppy adjusted the shields, redirecting power exactly where the next hit would land. It wasn't luck, it was precision. Finally, Rin spotted his chance. A massive asteroid split in two by an old mining blast, creating a narrow gap just wide enough for the Wayfarer. He aimed for it. The puppy barked twice, and the ship's engines surged. They shot through the gap with meters to spare. The pirate ship tried to follow, but the gap collapsed, the drifting rocks sealing it shut, trapping them on the other side. Silence filled the cockpit except for the hum of the engines. Rin glanced at the puppy. "You're not just a pet," he said slowly. The puppy tilted its head, then hopped into his lap, pressing against him. Rin let out a quiet laugh. "All right, you win. Your crew." They reached the hidden cargo cache without further trouble. As Rin loaded the medical supplies into the Wayfarer, the puppy sniffed around, its tail wagging. From the shadows, the tall figure with glowing blue eyes appeared. The Watcher. He stepped forward slowly, unarmed. "You've seen what it can do now," he said. "It's not just an animal, it's an engineered intelligence, the last of its kind." Rin didn't answer. The Watcher's voice softened. "It was made to bond with a single guardian, to learn them, protect them, and if needed, die for them." He took a step closer. "Give it to me. Human, I can take it where it belongs." The puppy moved instantly, stepping in front of Rin, teeth bared. The Watcher paused. "You see? It's loyal to you, but it was not meant for you." Rin's eyes hardened. "Then whoever made it didn't understand loyalty," he said. "Because loyalty isn't about who you were built for, it's about who you choose." The Watcher studied him for a long moment, then, without another word, he turned and disappeared back into the shadows. Rin lifted the puppy into his arms. "You chose me," he said quietly, "and I'll choose you, every time." When the Wayfarer returned to Station 9, the medical supplies were delivered. The Council praised Rin, but it was the puppy who became the real story. In the markets and corridors, whispers spread about the tiny Earth creature that had outsmarted pirates, survived the arena, and stood between its human and death. The laughter that had once greeted it was gone, replaced with respect. As Rin walked through the docking bay with the puppy trotting at his side, the insectoid merchant watched from a distance. He didn't speak, he didn't dare, because now, everyone on Station 9 knew. You could mock a human's size. You could question their strength, but you never, ever disrespected what they called family. And in that moment, the lesson was clear. Loyalty was humanity's sharpest weapon, and it was one the galaxy would never forget.